My brother's voice echoed through the ballroom. My useless sister needs to sell her failing company to me. The words hung in the air as champagne glasses clinked in approval. My father nodded, smiling proudly at his Harvard MBA son. No one noticed me slip out the door, tears threatening to fall. They'd always seen me as the family disappointment, the Stanford dropout with unrealistic dreams. Little did they know, my failing company was worth $99 million. And what happened the next morning would change everything forever. Before I dive into my story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like button if you've ever been underestimated. Subscribe to join our community of dreamers and doers who refuse to be defined by others' expectations. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up as Natalie Hayes meant living in the shadow of expectations. My mother, Victoria, was the only one who saw beyond the conventional paths to success. Innovation doesn't follow a syllabus, she'd whisper while helping me build circuit boards in our garage at 13. Meanwhile, my brother Bradley was being groomed for proper business success, debate team, student government, and perfectly pressed shirts that matched our fathers. When Mom passed away during my sophomore year at Stanford, something in me shifted. The prestigious computer science program suddenly felt confining. The theories were fascinating, but the pace was excruciating. Real-world tech was evolving weekly while we spent semesters on concepts that were already being revolutionized in the field. "You're throwing away your future," my father Lawrence said when I called to tell him I was leaving Stanford. "This impulsiveness is exactly why you'll never succeed like your brother." The word stung, but I'd already secured a position at a startup that was doing fascinating work with early AI applications. That was 6 years ago. Today, at 28, I'm the founder and CEO of Novatech, an AI solutions company revolutionizing virtual assistant technology. Our proprietary algorithms create genuinely intuitive digital assistants that learn and adapt to users in ways competitors haven't matched. Current valuation, $99 million. Not that my family would acknowledge it. "Natalie, the Q3 numbers are in," Marcus Reynolds, my loyal CTO, announced as he entered my office. Marcus had been with me since the beginning, one of the few who believed in my vision when everyone else saw a college dropout with delusional ambitions. "Let me guess, we've plateaued, and it's time to accept Bradley's generous acquisition offer?" I teased, already knowing the truth. Marcus laughed, sliding the financial report across my desk. "Actually, we're up 22% from last quarter. The Henderson implementation exceeded projections, and we're getting incredible feedback on the emotional intelligence upgrades." I scanned the figures, a quiet satisfaction replacing the perpetual anxiety I'd carried since founding Novatech. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. Our virtual assistant technology was becoming the gold standard in the industry. "Don't look now, but I think we might actually know what we're doing," I said, allowing myself a rare moment of pride. My phone buzzed. "Father." I considered letting it go to voicemail, but remembered my therapist's advice about setting boundaries rather than building walls. "Natalie." My father's voice carried the perpetual disappointment I'd grown accustomed to. "I assume you've remembered Bradley's promotion party tonight." I had, in fact, completely forgotten. My brother's ascension to the youngest VP position at Hayes Consulting, my father's prestigious firm, was apparently cause for celebration. "Of course," I lied. "Looking forward to it. Proper attire this time, please. Last family function you arrived looking like one of your IT people. This is an important night for Bradley." I bit back the urge to point out that my IT people were helping build a company valued at nearly 9 figures. "I'll find something appropriate," I said instead. After hanging up, I walked to the window of my downtown office. The city skyline had always calmed me, all those buildings filled with people making their own paths. I'd carved mine against every expectation, against the constant reminder that I was the family disappointment. "Father again?" Rachel Anderson appeared in my doorway. My best friend since high school had become Novatech's marketing director, translating our complex technology into campaigns that actually connected with people. "Reminding me about Bradley's celebration tonight." Apparently, I need fashion advice to attend my own brother's party. Rachel rolled her eyes. Will the golden child be announcing his run for president while walking on water, or is this just about making partner? VP position. Youngest in the firm's history, according to father. And I'm sure they'll all spend the evening talking about how you could have had a real career, too, if you'd just stuck with the program, Rachel said, perching on the edge of my desk. I shrugged. It's fine. I'm used to it. That's the problem, Rachel replied. You shouldn't be used to your family treating your incredible success like some cute hobby. My phone pinged with a text from Diana Wells, my mentor and one of the few successful female tech entrepreneurs who'd taken time to guide me. Don't forget our lunch next week. Also, heard whispers about Westfield contract. Call me. Diana had been instrumental in helping me navigate the male-dominated tech world. Her company had revolutionized supply chain management software in the early 2000s, and she'd been one of my first investors when everyone else saw only risk. I should prepare for this evening's family inquisition, I sighed. Bradley's fiancée, Isabella, will undoubtedly ask if I'm still doing that computer thing, while father explains to everyone why my brother's consulting career is the epitome of success. Wear the navy Stella McCartney, Rachel advised. It says, I'm successful enough to buy designer, but not trying to outshine the golden child. Hours later, standing in front of my closet, I ran my fingers over the navy dress. Rachel was right. It struck the perfect balance. I accessorized with the small sapphire earrings my mother had left me, a reminder of the one person who'd believed in my path. My reflection showed someone caught between worlds, the tech CEO in designer clothing, still seeking approval from a family who measured success by metrics I'd long abandoned. Tonight, I'd wear my accomplishments as armor against their judgment. As I grabbed my keys, I glanced at the framed napkin on my wall. My first business plan for Novatech, scribbled during that life-changing moment when I decided Stanford's path wasn't mine. Mother had always encouraged me to visualize success differently. The world doesn't need another person following the established route, she'd said. It needs those brave enough to create new ones. Tonight, surrounded by people celebrating the most conventional definition of success, I need to remember that. The Hayes estate loomed ahead as my Audi pulled through the ornate gates. Father had insisted on maintaining the family home in its full pretentious glory after Mother died, despite her preference for downsizing to something with less echo and more soul, as she'd put it. Tonight, the mansion was illuminated like a small palace, with luxury vehicles lining the circular driveway and catering staff efficiently moving through the crowd with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Bradley's promotion to VP was being celebrated with appropriate Hayes family excess. I smoothed my navy dress and reminded myself I'd built something valuable, something that mattered, regardless of what anyone here thought. The mantra had become necessary armor for family functions. Natalie, you actually came. Aunt Patricia air-kissed both my cheeks, her gaze immediately assessing my appearance for flaws to discuss later. How's your little tech project going? Bradley mentioned something about computers. My AI company is doing well, thanks, I replied, already regretting not sending a congratulatory flower arrangement and claiming a work emergency. How fascinating. You know, Susan's daughter works with computers too. IT support for a law firm. Good benefits, I hear. Before I could explain the difference between IT support and founding a tech company, Uncle Edward appeared. There's our entrepreneur. Still avoiding a real job, Natalie. The company employs 47 people now, so I'm actually creating real jobs, I answered with a practiced smile. 47? Impressive hobby, he chuckled, wandering away before I could respond. The grand foyer funneled guests toward the main ballroom where father held court near the marble fireplace, Bradley at his side like a crown prince. My brother's perfectly tailored Tom Ford suit matched father's in style, if not color, a visual reinforcement of succession and legacy. You made it, father said when I approached, his eyes immediately dropping to my sensible heels with a flicker of disapproval. Bradley's wearing Tom Ford. I do wish you'd make an effort to match the family's standard of professional appearance. Hello to you too, father, I replied, turning to Bradley. Congratulations on the promotion. Impressive achievement. My brother's smile carried the same confident superiority it had since childhood's spelling bee victories. Thanks for coming. Nat didn't think you could tear yourself away from your startup. The way he said startup, like it was an adorable phase rather than a multi-million-dollar company, made my teeth clench. Natalie, Isabella Thompson, Bradley's new fiancée, approached with calculated grace. Her family's banking fortune made her father's ideal addition to the Hayes dynasty. That dress is so practical. I adore how you prioritize comfort. The designer dress that had cost more than some cars was apparently reading as practical to Isabella's couture-trained eye. Congratulations on the engagement, I deflected. The ring is beautiful. Bradley designed it himself, she gushed, though I recognized the setting as one of Tiffany's signature pieces. He has impeccable taste. We're looking at venues in the Hamptons for next summer. The evening continued its predictable path as I circulated through clusters of father's business associates, distant relatives, and Bradley's Ivy League network. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Congratulations for Bradley, followed by confused or condescending questions about my computer business. By the time everyone was ushered to their seats for dinner, I'd explained what AI technology actually does 14 times, received 6 suggestions about getting a proper MBA, and heard 4 variations of it's never too late to follow a traditional career path. Father stood at the head table, crystal champagne flute raised. Tonight, we celebrate excellence, he began, his commanding presence immediately silencing the room. Bradley has always understood the value of proper foundation. Stanford undergraduate with honors, Harvard MBA, and now the youngest vice president in Hayes Consulting's 70-year history. The crowd murmured appreciatively as Father continued extolling Bradley's conventional path as the template for success. When people ask about legacy, about carrying forward family values of excellence and tradition, I point to my son. I took a long sip of champagne, letting the bubbles burn slightly. The implied comparison hung in the air, one child following the approved blueprint for success, the other an aberration. And now, Father concluded, I'd like to propose a toast to Bradley Hayes, who proves that discipline, traditional education, and respect for established business principles are still the surest path to success. Glasses clinked around the room as Bradley rose to accept the adulation. My brother's confident smile surveyed the room before he spoke. Thank you, Father, and thank you all for celebrating with us tonight. His practiced charm worked through the room. Success has always been about recognizing opportunity and understanding risk. Speaking of which, Bradley's eyes found mine across the room, and something in his expression sent a chill through me. Many of you know my sister's been working on a tech venture since dropping out of Stanford. A ripple of whispers moved through the room. What you may not know is that Novatech has been burning through investment capital at an alarming rate while failing to deliver on its core technology promises. The room went silent. My hand froze around my champagne glass. As family, Bradley continued, his voice carrying concern that didn't reach his eyes, I feel responsible for protecting Natalie from further embarrassment in the business community. Therefore, I'm publicly extending an offer to acquire Novatech at 20% of its paper valuation, a generous offer given its current trajectory. Shocked faces turned toward me as Bradley delivered his coup de grace. My team at Hayes Consulting can integrate any salvageable technology while providing Natalie with a graceful exit from what has become, unfortunately, another cautionary tale about inadequate business foundation. The silence stretched for 3 unbearable seconds before Father's voice cut through it. Very generous, son. The family takes care of its own. The room erupted in hushed conversations, pitying glances thrown my way. Isabella smirked slightly from beside Bradley. I sat perfectly still, a lifetime of Hayes family training preventing the scene my trembling hands wanted to create. Instead of throwing my champagne in my brother's face, instead of publicly challenging his blatant lies, I quietly placed my napkin beside my plate, stood, and walked out of the ballroom with as much dignity as I could muster. No one followed me to the door. It doesn't matter what they think, I insisted to Rachel the next morning, aggressively stirring my coffee in the Novatech break room. Bradley can say whatever he wants at his little country club parties. Our investors know the truth. Rachel's expression said she wasn't buying my forced nonchalance. Natalie, your brother publicly announced your company is failing. At a party full of industry people. With your father's endorsement. So? Our numbers speak for themselves. I took a scalding sip, welcoming the physical discomfort as distraction from the emotional kind. Ms. Hayes, Marcus appeared in the doorway, his usually calm demeanor visibly shaken. We need to talk. Privately. In my office, Marcus closed the door before speaking. Redstone Capital, Venture Northwest, and Sullivan Investments all called this morning. They're withdrawing from our next funding round discussions. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. All three? Why? They cited concerning market intelligence about Novatech's stability. When I pressed for details, Sullivan mentioned hearing from family sources that our technology implementation timeline is unrealistic. My brother's smug face flashed in my mind. Bradley's been calling our investors. It appears so, Marcus confirmed. And they're listening because he's Hayes Consulting, Harvard MBA, father's golden child. I finished. While I'm the college dropout running a hobby business. My phone rang, Diana Wells. I put her on speaker. Natalie, what the hell is happening? I've gotten 3 calls this morning asking if Novatech is in trouble. Bradley happened. I explained the previous night's ambush. He's telling people we're failing. Diana's sigh carried years of experience navigating similar terrain. Listen carefully. Perception creates reality in this industry. If enough people believe you're in trouble, you will be, regardless of your actual numbers. After promising to make some calls to counter the rumors, Diana hung up, leaving Marcus and me staring at each other across my desk. Team meeting in 30 minutes. I decided. We need everyone projecting absolute confidence. No one can sense panic. And are we panicking? Marcus asked quietly. I thought about the Westfield contract, a $30 million implementation of our technology that would secure our future if signed next month. Not yet, but we need to move fast. The memory of my first major obstacle with Novatech flashed through my mind. 2 years ago, our initial prototype had crashed during a crucial demonstration for our first major investor. Everyone had expected me to fold. Instead, I'd walked them through the exact failure point, explained the solution already in development, and convinced them to double their investment based on our team's problem-solving transparency. This was different. This wasn't a technical problem I could solve with ingenuity and caffeine. This was my own brother deliberately undermining my company for his personal gain. We'll get through this, I told Marcus with more conviction than I felt. Send the team in at 10. 45 minutes later, I'd finished presenting to our core team, emphasizing our strong fundamentals and dismissing the family drama as irrelevant to our operations. I was mid-sentence about the Westfield opportunity when my assistant Olivia knocked. Ms. Hayes, Eric Sullivan is in reception. He says he needs to see you immediately. Eric Sullivan, the venture capitalist who just canceled our funding discussion, showing up unannounced couldn't be good. Find out what he wants, I told Olivia, then addressed the team. That's all for now. Project confidence in every email, call, and meeting. Questions about our stability are opportunities to showcase our growth. As the team filed out, I straightened my desk compulsively, trying to project the success I needed everyone to believe in. Eric Sullivan entered looking uncomfortable, never a good sign from someone who evaluated companies for a living. Eric, what brings you by? I thought we weren't talking until next quarter now. I kept my tone deliberately light. Natalie, I'll be direct. I've known you 3 years, and I've always appreciated your innovation. But I'm hearing concerning things about Novatech's management and cash position. From my brother, I assume? Eric looked uncomfortable. Among others. Bradley presented some compelling analysis of your burn rate versus delivery timelines. Analysis based on what data? He has no access to our financial information. He suggested your cash position is under 6 months with no clear path to profitability. I opened our financial dashboard on my monitor and turned it toward him. 18 months of runway at current burn, and that's without the Westfield contract we're finalizing. Eric studied the screen, his expression softening slightly. This looks better than what I heard, but Natalie, perception matters in this industry. So, you're withdrawing $8 million in funding because of rumors started by my brother, who happens to be trying to acquire us at 20% of valuation? Eric had the decency to look uncomfortable. When you put it that way, it sounds problematic. Because it is problematic, Eric. After he left with a weak promise to reconsider, my desk phone rang. The Westfield account executive, Thomas Bennett. Natalie, I wanted to call directly rather than email. We're hearing some concerning rumors about Novatech. My heart sank. Let me guess, about our financial stability and ability to deliver? Yes, actually. We were quite surprised given our technical review was so positive. I spent 20 minutes reassuring Thomas, walking him through implementation timelines and contingency plans. He seemed somewhat reassured but mentioned the contract approval might take longer than anticipated to get through their board. The final blow came that afternoon, an official letter from Hayes Consulting offering to purchase Novatech at 22% of its current valuation, citing market corrections based on implementation realities. The offer was dated yesterday, before Bradley's public announcement. He'd planned the whole thing. I stared at the document, the Hayes Consulting letterhead blurring slightly. My brother had moved from undermining me at family dinners to actively trying to destroy what I'd built. And he was using our father's company, our family legacy, as his weapon. The question was no longer if I could weather Bradley's attack, but whether Novatech could survive being targeted by Hayes Consulting with my father's apparent blessing. The framed family photo hit the wall of my apartment with a satisfying crash, glass shards scattering across the hardwood floor. 3 days of constant damage control had left me exhausted and furious. Every investor call, every client reassurance, every team pep talk had drained another ounce of my depleted emotional reserves. Feel better? Rachel asked from my couch, wine glass in hand. No, I admitted, staring at the fractured image of the Hayes family, Bradley, father, and me at some charity gala years ago. All perfect smiles hiding perfect dysfunction. But it was either the picture or my laptop, and I need the laptop. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Found something. Coming over. 20 minutes. Marcus rarely left his computer after hours, let alone made house calls. Marcus found something, I told Rachel. He's coming here. When Marcus arrived, his expression confirmed my suspicion that whatever he'd discovered wasn't good. I've been digging into why Bradley's suddenly so interested in acquiring Novatech, he began, opening his laptop on my kitchen counter. Hayes Consulting signed a major contract with Zenith Global 6 months ago, $80 million for a complete AI-driven logistics management system. That's not their expertise, I frowned. They're management consultants, not tech developers. Exactly. But the contract's tech specifications are remarkably similar to our Westfield proposal. Marcus turned his screen to show side-by-side requirements. They're practically identical. Rachel leaned closer. They sold Zenith our technology before they'd acquired us? It explains the lowball offer and the urgency. I realized. They need our AI engine to fulfill a contract they've already signed. Marcus nodded grimly. They promised delivery in 9 months. They're 4 months in with nothing to show because they can't build what they promised. So Bradley isn't just being a jerk, he's desperate, Rachel concluded. Desperate enough to tank our reputation, spook our investors, and try to force a sale. I agreed, the pieces falling into place. Hayes Consulting will fail to deliver without our technology. The next morning brought fresh challenges. My meeting with First National Bank revealed our business line of credit options had suddenly become limited due to industry risk reassessment. This reassessment wouldn't happen to coincide with calls from Hayes Consulting, would it? I asked the uncomfortable loan officer. We can't discuss other client relationships, she replied stiffly. I drove straight to Hayes Consulting afterward, bypassing the reception desk with a family privilege I rarely invoked. Father's executive assistant Charlotte didn't even try to stop me. The pitying look on her face suggested She'd been expecting this confrontation. Father was alone in his office, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed documents with the same stern concentration I remembered from childhood. Natalie, I assume this isn't a social call. He didn't look up. You're helping Bradley destroy my company. I remained standing, unwilling to take the visitor's chair and accept the power dynamic it implied. I'm helping Bradley salvage valuable technology before your inexperience wastes it completely. He finally met my gaze. This is business, not personal. It became personal when he publicly humiliated me at his party. It became personal when he started calling my investors with lies. Father removed his glasses. Bradley is protecting family interests. Hayes Consulting can utilize your AI technology effectively within our established business framework. You mean to fulfill the Zenith contract you can't deliver on your own? A flicker of surprise crossed his face. You've been well informed. You raised me to do my homework, I replied coldly. You and Bradley sold technology you don't own and can't develop. Now you're trying to acquire my company at a fraction of its value to save yourselves. We're offering you a graceful exit from a situation that's becoming untenable. Father's tone carried the familiar disappointment. Your company is losing investor confidence daily. Because Bradley is deliberately undermining it. Because the market recognizes when a company lacks proper leadership foundation. He stood, signaling the conversation was ending. The offer increases to 25% evaluation if you accept within the week. After that, we'll pursue other options. What other options? I demanded. Your lead developer, Jessica Thompson, had an interesting conversation with our HR department yesterday. She was quite impressed with our compensation package. The threat was clear. They'd start poaching my team if I didn't sell. Back at Novatech, more fires awaited. Catherine Morgan, CEO of rival AI firm Datamines, had requested a meeting to discuss industry challenges. The thinly veiled acquisition conversation ended with her making a suspiciously similar lowball offer. I've heard things aren't stable at Novatech, she said with practiced concern. I'd hate to see your technology lost if things don't work out. Heard from Bradley Hayes by chance? I asked. Her surprised expression confirmed my suspicion before she recovered. From various sources. The industry talks, Natalie. After Catherine left, I received a call from Garner Technologies, a potential integration partner we'd been courting for months. Their technical team had loved our AI engine, but now their CEO was reconsidering the alignment. Your technology is impressive, he began cautiously, but we need confidence in our partner's stability. My temper finally snapped. And I suppose Hayes Consulting reached out recently to express their concerns about that stability. I'm not at liberty to discuss. Let me save us both time, I interrupted. My brother is trying to acquire my company at a fraction of its value by spreading false information about our financial position. If you're going to let industry gossip override your technical team's assessment, we don't have anything more to discuss. The silence stretched uncomfortably before he responded. I appreciate your candor, but this aggressive approach isn't reassuring. After he hung up, I stared at the phone, regretting my outburst, but too exhausted to care. Marcus appeared in my doorway, concern evident. We need to talk about the development timeline, he said quietly. What's wrong now? Nothing's wrong exactly, but I've been thinking, if we accelerate the adaptive learning algorithm for the next release, we could demonstrate capabilities that Hayes Consulting can't possibly replicate. The idea had merit. Showing the market exactly what Bradley was so desperate to acquire might neutralize his narrative. How quickly could we do it? With the team working overtime? 3 weeks instead of 6. Do it, I decided. Whatever resources you need. Later that evening, Rachel cornered me in my office. You haven't left this building in 3 days. When was the last time you slept more than 4 hours? I'll sleep when we've secured the Westfield contract, I replied, not looking up from my monitor. Natalie, you can't help the company if you collapse. Her voice softened. I'm worried about you. I'm fine, I insisted, though the 4 empty coffee cups on my desk suggested otherwise. You're not fine. You're working 20-hour days, you're barely eating, and you snap at everyone who isn't Marcus. She was right. but admitting it felt like surrender. I can't show weakness right now. The team needs to see absolute confidence. The team needs a leader who isn't running on caffeine and spite, Rachel countered. Before I could respond, my email pinged with a press release notification from Hayes Financial Group, Father's holding company. The headline made my blood run cold. Hayes family expresses concern about Novatech leadership. The brief statement expressed family concern about my inexperience and suggested that proper business guidance was needed to protect the innovative potential of Novatech's technology. The message was clear. This wasn't just Bradley anymore. The entire Hayes family empire had declared war on my company. 3 months, I said flatly, staring at the financial projections spreadsheet on the conference room screen. We have 3 months of runway left if no new investments or major contracts materialize. Marcus nodded grimly. The development acceleration is burning cash faster, and 3 potential investors pulling out created a domino effect with others. The financial reality was stark. Bradley's campaign had successfully spooked enough investors to create an actual crisis from a fictional one. The cruel irony wasn't lost on me. The Westfield contract would change everything, Rachel pointed out. $30 million would extend our runway significantly. If they sign, Marcus cautioned. Thomas Bennett mentioned their board has questions about our stability issues. My intercom buzzed. Ms. Hayes, Alexander Mitchell is here for your 11 o'clock. Alexander Mitchell was a newer player in tech investment, brilliant, unconventional, and refreshingly straightforward. We'd met at a conference 6 months ago and had preliminary discussions, but nothing concrete had developed. Show him in, I replied, quickly closing the financial projections. No need to greet a potential investor with a countdown to insolvency. Alexander entered with the confident ease of someone comfortable anywhere. His casual attire, jeans and a quality button-down, contrasted with the usual venture capitalist uniform of Patagonia vests and chinos. Natalie, good to see you again, he began, shaking my hand with genuine warmth. I've been following Novatech's progress. Your adaptive learning algorithms are outpacing competitors by significant margins. Thank you. We're proud of our technical achievements. I'm also hearing interesting rumors about family drama and company stability, he continued, his directness catching me off guard. Care to offer perspective before I consider investment? I appreciated the absence of pretense. My brother is attempting a hostile takeover by undermining investor confidence. He needs our technology to fulfill contracts Hayes Consulting can't deliver on their own. Alexander nodded thoughtfully. That aligns with my research. Your brother has been surprisingly transparent with his campaign, at least to those who know what questions to ask. You've spoken with Bradley? I make a point of understanding all angles before investing. Hayes Consulting has technological obligations they can't meet without acquisition or partnership. For the next hour, Alexander asked insightful questions about our technology, market position, and growth strategy. Unlike most investors, he understood the technical details without simplification. I see significant potential in Novatech, he concluded. Your implementation approach solves problems others aren't even acknowledging yet. I'd like to continue our conversation next week after I review some additional information. After he left, Rachel raised an eyebrow. He seems promising. Let's not count investments before they're signed, I cautioned. Bradley probably has his number by now. Speaking of Bradley, an unexpected meeting request from him appeared in my inbox that afternoon, suggesting dinner to discuss family business matters. Against my better judgment, I accepted. The restaurant he chose was deliberately public, a clear message that he expected civilized behavior. Bradley was waiting at a corner table when I arrived, his expression betraying nothing. Natalie, you look tired. Not even a pretense of warmth. Undermining someone's life's work can do that, I replied, sitting across from him. What do you want, Bradley? To offer you a lifeline. Hayes Consulting will increase our offer to 30% ownership stake in Novatech. You can retain a figurehead position during transition. The absolute audacity nearly made me laugh. You create a crisis by spreading lies, then offer to save me from that crisis at a discount? That's your proposal. It's a generous offer considering Novateca's deteriorating position. His confidence was infuriating. Your investor pool is drying up. Westfield is reconsidering their contract. You're burning cash on accelerated development that may not deliver in time. His specific knowledge of our internal challenges confirmed my suspicions about information leaks. Why the urgency? Is Zenith getting nervous about your ability to deliver? Bradley's slight flinch confirmed I'd hit a nerve. This isn't about Zenith. This is about protecting family assets. My company is not a family asset. Your company was built with family connections and the Hayes name, he countered. Father introduced you to your first 3 investors. And I've repaid every favor, every introduction, every loan with interest, I replied. Novatech succeeded despite family expectations, not because of them. Bradley's expression hardened. The offer expires in 48 hours. After that, we pursue more aggressive options. Like poaching my developers? Or calling more of my clients with concerns? Like approaching Westfield directly. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Their implementation needs align perfectly with Hayes Consulting's capabilities. I returned to the office to find Marcus waiting with more bad news. The accelerated development timeline hit a major obstacle. The adaptive learning module is returning inconsistent results under high data volumes. The technical crisis couldn't have come at a worse time. If we couldn't deliver the enhanced features, we'd lose our technological advantage, the very thing keeping us viable despite Bradley's campaign. How long to fix it? I asked. Unknown. Could be 3 days, could be 3 weeks. That evening, I called an emergency team meeting. Despite my best efforts to project confidence, multiple employees expressed concerns about the company's stability. My roommate works at Linker Systems. Junior developer Tyler Evans shared hesitantly. He mentioned they're expanding their AI team with significant sign-on bonuses. The implication was clear. People were considering exit options. Lunch with Diana the next day brought little comfort. Natalie, I believe in your vision and your technology, she began carefully, but you need to consider contingency plans. You think I should sell to Bradley? I couldn't keep the betrayal from my voice. Absolutely not, Diana corrected firmly. But there are friendly companies who would value your technology appropriately and preserve your team's work. A strategic partnership might provide the stability you need while maintaining your core mission. As much as I hated to admit it, Diana was right. I spent the afternoon negotiating with smaller investors, securing just enough capital to maintain operations, but at terms far less favorable than previous rounds. That evening, Marcus entered my office with a grave expression. Westfield called. They want to reassess timeline expectations after consulting with industry partners. Bradley got to them. I translated. Their VP of Operations mentioned Hayes Consulting specifically. I closed my eyes, the weight of compounding crises becoming nearly unbearable. My phone pinged with an email from Bradley, an updated offer, now 25% evaluation but with a 24-hour deadline. The walls were closing in from every direction. The Novatech office was eerily silent at 3 a.m., empty except for the occasional hum of servers and the soft glow of emergency lighting. I sat alone at my desk, staring at financial projections that refused to improve no matter how many times I adjusted the variables. Sleep had become a distant memory. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Bradley's smug face announcing my failure to a room full of approving nods. The constant anxiety had transformed into a physical presence, a weight pressing against my chest that made each breath deliberate. On my desk sat the framed photo of my mother Victoria and me in our garage workshop, surrounded by circuit boards and soldering tools. I was 12, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a crude robot we'd built together. Don't ever let anyone tell you which path to take, she'd said that day. The world has enough followers. Be the one who creates the trail others wish they'd discovered. On her deathbed 6 years ago, I'd made her a promise. I'll build something that matters, Mom. Something that helps people. Something you'd be proud of. I know you will, she whispered, squeezing my hand with the last of her strength. And promise me you won't let your father and Bradley crush your spirit. Their vision is so narrow, Natalie. Your mind works differently. That's your gift, not your flaw. Now, staring at the dwindling runway projections, I wondered if I'd fail that promise. Novatech wasn't just a company to me. It was the manifestation of a different way of thinking, of approaching problems, of creating value. It was everything my mother had believed I could achieve. My phone alarm jolted me from the memory, a reminder of my 9 a.m. doctor's appointment that Rachel had practically forced me to schedule. 4 hours from now. No point in going home. Dr. Sharon Chen's expression grew increasingly concerned as she checked my vitals and listened to my symptoms. Your blood pressure is elevated, you're showing signs of exhaustion, and you've lost 8 pounds since your last visit 6 months ago, she summarized. How much are you sleeping? Enough, I lied. Natalie, I've been your doctor for 5 years. Let's try honesty. 3, maybe 4 hours. On good nights. Dr. Chen sighed. Your body is telling you something important, and you're ignoring it. This level of stress and sleep deprivation has serious consequences: compromised immune function, cognitive impairment, increased risk of cardiovascular issues. I don't have time to be sick, I replied. My company is fighting for survival. And it needs you functioning at your best, she countered, writing a prescription. Mild sleep aid.
Non-habit forming.
And I wanted to commit to at least 6 hours of sleep and 3 proper meals daily. I took the prescription knowing I probably wouldn't fill it. Sleep wasn't a luxury I could afford when every hour might determine Novatech's survival. Back at the office, Marcus was waiting with an expression that told me the news wasn't good. Jessica Thompson gave notice this morning, he said, referring to our senior AI architect, along with Greg Parker and Michelle Wilson. 3 key team members, all irreplaceable in the short term. Hayes Consulting? I asked, already knowing the answer. Marcus nodded. Double their current salaries, guaranteed 2-year contracts, and significant signing bonuses. Bradley's not even pretending anymore, I said bitterly. He's just strip mining our talent. The accelerated development now seemed impossible. Without Jessica leading the AI architecture, we'd lose weeks just reorganizing the team. Greg and Michelle's departure created critical gaps in our development workflow. That afternoon, we attempted to demonstrate our enhanced AI feature to Alexander Mitchell. The system crashed 3 minutes into the presentation, returning nonsensical responses to basic queries. I apologize for the technical difficulties, I said, mortification burning through my exhaustion. We're implementing significant upgrades that sometimes create temporary instabilities. Alexander's expression remained neutral. Innovation is messy. I understand that better than most investors. After he left, Rachel found me in the server room, staring blankly at blinking lights as if they might reconfigure themselves into solutions. Natalie, this can't continue, she said gently. You haven't slept properly in weeks. The team is seeing it. I'm seeing it. I'm fine, I insisted automatically. You're not fine. You're killing yourself trying to save a company that needs its leader healthy and clear-headed. The truth in her words broke something in me. What if I can't save it, Rachel? What if Bradley wins? What if everything I've built, everything Mom believed I could do, just fails? Rachel pulled me into a hug as the tears finally came, weeks of pent-up fear and exhaustion pouring out in racking sobs that left me gasping for breath. Failure would be surrendering your vision to become what they always wanted you to be, she whispered. Sometimes the bravest thing is knowing when to change course to preserve what matters most. The next morning brought an unexpected development, a surprisingly reasonable acquisition offer from Catherine Morgan at Data Mines. The terms valued Novatech at 60% of its pre-crisis valuation, far below what we were worth, but significantly better than Bradley's predatory offer. We'd integrate your core technology into our enterprise solutions, Catherine explained over the phone. Your team would remain largely intact, and you'd lead integration for the first year before transitioning to an advisory role. It wasn't what I'd dreamed of, but it would preserve the technology and protect most of the team. As much as I hated to admit it, the offer was starting to look like the best available option. That evening, a handwritten letter arrived by courier. Father's distinctive script covered the heavy stationery embossed with the Hayes family crest. Natalie. It began without preamble. Family relationships need not be permanently damaged by business disagreements. Your mother would have wanted harmony restored to our family. Bradley's offer represents the most sensible path forward, ensuring your work continues under proper guidance while restoring family unity. I urge you to make the rational choice before options diminish further. The manipulation was so transparent it would have been laughable if it weren't so painful. Invoking mother while simultaneously dismissing everything she believed about my potential. The following day, I arrived at the office to find Bradley waiting in reception, his tailored suit and polished demeanor jarringly out of place among our startup aesthetic. I thought I'd see how my investment is doing, he said with casual cruelty, glancing around at the open workspace. Hayes Consulting prefers a more professional environment, but we can address that during reorganization. We haven't accepted your offer, I reminded him coldly. Yet, he replied with absolute confidence. Your runway is what, 10 weeks now? The Westfield contract is stalled indefinitely. 3 key developers started at Hayes yesterday. The smart move is to negotiate terms while you still have leverage. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared at Bradley's contact information on my phone screen. Tears streamed silently down my face as my finger hovered over the call button. One conversation, one surrender, and the nightmare would end. Novatech would become a footnote in Hayes Consulting's annual report. I would become exactly what they'd always expected, a cautionary tale about straying from the approved path. The thought made me physically ill. The knock at my office door came just after 7 p.m. I'd sent most of the team home early. Morale was low enough without them watching me sift through increasingly desperate options. We're closed, I called, not looking up from my laptop. Natalie? It's Isabella. Isabella Thompson. Bradley's fiancée was the last person I expected to see at Novatech. I reluctantly opened the door to find her looking uncharacteristically disheveled, her designer handbag clutched tightly against her chest. May I come in? Please? I don't have much time. Curiosity overrode caution. I gestured her inside, closing the door behind her. Bradley thinks I'm at my Pilates class, she began, her perfectly manicured hands trembling slightly as she opened her bag. He doesn't monitor my schedule yet, but he checks my phone sometimes, so I left it at the studio. Isabella, what's going on? She pulled out a USB drive and several folded documents. I can't be part of this. What they're doing to you. It's wrong. For a moment, I wondered if this was some elaborate trap, Bradley sending his fiancée to gather intelligence or plant false information. But the genuine distress in Isabella's eyes seemed impossible to fake. What are these? I asked, not touching the items she'd placed on my desk. Financial documents from Hayes Consulting. Proof that they're the ones in trouble, not you. She pushed the papers toward me. They've been hiding massive losses for the past 3 quarters. The Zenith contract was supposed to save them, but they promised technology they can't deliver. I scanned the documents. Internal financial reports showing Hayes Consulting hemorrhaging cash, client dissatisfaction metrics trending sharply downward, and a damning email chain about technological capabilities they'd misrepresented to Zenith Global. Bradley's not trying to save you from failure, Isabella continued. He's trying to save Hayes Consulting from collapse by acquiring your technology at a fraction of its value. Why are you showing me this? I asked, still suspicious of her motives. Isabella's perfect composure cracked slightly. Because I thought I was marrying into a family with integrity. The Hayes name meant something to me. But watching Bradley and your father deliberately destroy your company. She shook her head. My father built his business from nothing. He would never respect what they're doing, and neither can I. Bradley will know you did this. Not if you're smart about how you use it, she replied, standing to leave. I was never here. These documents found their way to you anonymously. After she left, I immediately called Marcus, who arrived 20 minutes later with Rachel in tow. Is this legitimate? I asked as they reviewed the documents and USB contents. Marcus nodded slowly, his expression shifting from shock to calculated strategy. These financial statements match information I've heard whispered about Hayes Consulting. They're over-leveraged and under-delivering. The Zenith contract was their Hail Mary, Rachel added. They promised AI capabilities they don't have and can't develop in time. No wonder Bradley's been so aggressive, I realized. If they don't deliver to Zenith, Hayes Consulting could face contractual penalties that would sink them. As we digested this information, Marcus's phone pinged with a notification. The development team fixed the critical flaw in the adaptive learning module, he announced, his voice rising with excitement. Elena found a processing bottleneck that was causing the inconsistent results. It's working now, and it's faster than our original specifications. For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of genuine hope. How quickly can we implement it in the demo environment? By morning, Marcus promised. Full integration within 3 days if we push. Do it, I decided. And call Alexander Mitchell. Tell him we have something he needs to see. The next day brought a whirlwind of activity. Alexander arrived for a private demonstration of our fixed AI technology, watching with increasing interest as the system processed complex queries with unprecedented speed and accuracy. This is remarkable, he said finally. The adaptive learning curve exceeds anything I've seen in the market. We solved the bottleneck issue yesterday, I explained, deliberately not mentioning the information about Hayes Consulting. If Alexander was going to invest, it needed to be based on our technology's merit, not our competitors' weakness. I'd like to discuss investment terms, he said after the demonstration concluded. Your valuation has been artificially depressed by market manipulation. I believe fair terms should reflect your actual technological position, not temporary perception issues. Meanwhile, Diana arrived for a strategy session, her expression shifting from concern to calculated determination as I shared Isabella's revelations. This changes everything, she said, pacing my office. Bradley's been playing offense when he should have been playing defense.
We can use that.
Together, we crafted a plan that turned Bradley's tactics against him, not through public accusations or messy confrontation, but through strategic counter-movement. That evening, I called the remaining team together for an honest conversation. No more forced optimism or vague reassurances. Novatech is at a crossroads, I began. The attacks on our company weren't random market forces. They were deliberate actions by people who want our technology without paying for it. I explained the situation candidly, sharing both the challenges and our emerging counter-strategy. I can't promise this will be easy, but I can promise it's worth fighting for. Anyone who wants to step away, I understand completely. No hard feelings, glowing recommendations. To my surprise, no one moved toward the door. Senior developer Kyle Turner spoke first. Jessica called me yesterday. She already regrets leaving. Says Hayes Consulting is a bureaucratic nightmare with impossible technical expectations. Others nodded in agreement. The solidarity was overwhelming. The next morning, an anonymous industry leak appeared in TechWire, a respected industry publication, detailing Hayes Consulting's technical failures and desperate acquisition attempts. The article never mentioned Novatech specifically, but the implications were clear to anyone following the situation. By afternoon, 3 separate sources had picked up the story, creating a wave of industry speculation about Hayes Consulting's ability to fulfill their contractual obligations. I watched from the sidelines, neither confirming nor denying any connection to the leaks. While Bradley scrambled to contain the narrative, we arranged a private demonstration of our fixed AI technology for Westfield executives. Thomas Bennett brought his CTO and 2 board members to see firsthand what our system could deliver. This exceeds the specifications in our original discussions, the CTO acknowledged, visibly impressed. The adaptive learning capabilities would significantly enhance our customer experience metrics. That evening, searching through a box of my mother's belongings I'd never fully unpacked, I discovered her old business journal. Flipping through pages of her elegant handwriting, I found an entry from just months before her diagnosis. Success isn't measured by others' recognition, but by the integrity of your vision. When the world pushes against your ideas, that's not a sign to abandon them. It's confirmation you're creating something truly new. The greatest innovations always face the fiercest resistance. The words felt like a message across time, my mother's wisdom finding me exactly when I needed it most. The Westfield contract signing ceremony was deliberately understated. Just key executives, legal representatives, and core team members gathered in our conference room. No press, no announcement until the ink was dry. The revised agreement had expanded from the original $30 million to $45 million based on our enhanced AI capabilities, with an accelerated implementation timeline. Congratulations, Natalie, Thomas Bennett said as we shook hands over the signed documents. We're excited to move forward with Novatech as our exclusive AI solutions provider. The significance wasn't lost on anyone present. This wasn't just a contract signing, it was validation. After weeks of fighting for survival against deliberate sabotage, Novatech had emerged stronger. 3 days later, TechFuture published an extensive feature on our revolutionary adaptive learning technology. Novatech's AI breakthrough signals new era in virtual assistant capabilities. The article highlighted our proprietary algorithms and unprecedented natural language processing accuracy, sending our valuation soaring to $150 million almost overnight. My phone began ringing constantly. Investors who had previously withdrawn interest, potential partners suddenly eager to collaborate, and industry analysts requesting interviews. The same people who had distanced themselves during Bradley's campaign now claimed they'd always seen Novatech's potential. Rachel fielded most calls, but forwarded one that surprised us both. Bradley. We should talk, my brother said without greeting when I answered. Things have gotten unnecessarily complicated. Have they? I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Seems pretty straightforward to me. The Westfield contract was impressive, he conceded reluctantly. Hayes Consulting would like to discuss partnership opportunities instead of acquisition. We have complementary market positions. The desperation beneath his businesslike proposal was palpable. The leaked information about Hayes Consulting's technical failures had created exactly the kind of perception crisis Bradley had tried to manufacture for Novatech. I'll have my assistant check my calendar. I responded coolly. Though I should warn you, our partnership terms have changed significantly since your last offer. The following week, Father requested a meeting at his office. I arrived deliberately 10 minutes late, dressed in the confidence of recent success rather than seeking approval. The Westfield implementation is impressive, he began, awkwardly navigating unfamiliar territory, acknowledging my accomplishment. Bradley showed me the technical specifications. Very innovative approach. Thank you, I replied simply, not filling the uncomfortable silence that followed. Father cleared his throat. I may have been hasty in my assessment of Novatech's viability. Traditional business models don't always apply to technological innovation. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever received from Lawrence Hayes. Part of me wanted to make him work harder for forgiveness, to acknowledge exactly how much damage his actions had caused. But looking at him, older and suddenly less imposing behind his massive desk, I realized the victory had already been won. Mom would have enjoyed seeing the technology finally come together, I said instead. She always believed in approaching problems from unexpected angles. A shadow of genuine regret crossed his face. Victoria saw things in you that I missed. She understood your mind worked differently than mine or Bradley's. She understood it wasn't different, just differently valuable. That evening, we held a celebration for the Novatech team who had remained loyal through the crisis. Marcus received special recognition for his unwavering support and technical leadership that had saved our accelerated development timeline. To the people who believed when belief was hardest, I toasted, looking around at the faces that had become family. Novatech exists because of your talent, your perseverance, and your willingness to create something new rather than accept something established. Rachel had outdone herself with the event planning, transforming our office into a celebration space complete with custom cocktails named after our technical achievements. The adaptive algorithm, a color-changing drink, proved particularly popular. Alexander Mitchell joined the celebration, his growing professional interest increasingly complemented by personal attention that I found myself welcoming. Unlike other investors I'd encountered, Alexander valued innovation over convention and understood that breakthrough ideas rarely followed traditional paths. "I knew you'd weather the storm," he told me quietly during a moment away from the crowd. "Your determination was evident from our first meeting. The technology is brilliant, but the vision behind it is what makes Novatech exceptional." 2 months later, I delivered the keynote address at Tech Forward, the industry's premier innovation conference. Standing before thousands of technology professionals, I shared Novatech's journey without sugarcoating the challenges. "Innovation isn't just about technology, it's about perspective," I concluded. "Traditional paths to success exist for a reason, but breakthroughs happen when we have the courage to create new ones. Sometimes the most valuable qualification is being willing to see problems differently than everyone else." The standing ovation that followed wasn't just for me. It was for everyone who'd ever been underestimated, sidelined, or dismissed for approaching success differently than expected. In the audience, I spotted Father and Bradley, their expressions a complex mixture of pride, respect, and lingering discomfort with my unconventional success. We weren't a healed family. Too much had happened for simple resolution, but we were establishing a new dynamic based on earned respect rather than expected conformity. 6 months after the crisis, Novatech's valuation reached $250 million. The Westfield implementation had exceeded expectations, creating a wave of interest from enterprise clients seeking similar transformative AI solutions. We'd expanded to 78 employees, with Jessica Thompson returning as our AI architecture director after a brief, unsatisfying stint at Hayes Consulting. In honor of my mother's memory, I established the Victoria Hayes Innovation Scholarship for female tech dropouts with promising ideas. The first recipient, a brilliant 20-year-old who left MIT to develop algorithmic solutions for climate change prediction, reminded me of myself 5 years earlier, passionate, determined, and completely uninterested in following established paths. "You're changing the narrative about what success looks like," Diana told me over lunch, now both mentor and friend. 5 years ago, dropout was the first word in your professional description. Now it's barely a footnote. "Mom would have loved that," I replied, thinking of her journal entry that had found me at my lowest moment. "She always said the world needs trail creators more than trail followers." As Novatech continued expanding, that remained our core philosophy, not just developing technology, but developing new ways of thinking about what technology could achieve. The path hadn't been easy, but it had been authentic. And in the end, that had made all the difference. Have you ever been underestimated like Natalie, or had to fight against people who tried to diminish your dreams? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Sometimes our greatest strength comes from proving others wrong about what we're capable of achieving. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspirational journeys of resilience and success against the odds. Remember to share this video with someone who might need encouragement to stay true to their unique path. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the people who tell you that you're doing it all wrong are just afraid you've discovered a better way. Keep building your vision, even when others can't see it yet.